Good evening. At 6:30, this meeting will come to order. I want to welcome you to the Pasco School Board meeting this evening. Thank you for attending and for your interest in Pasco Public Schools. Understand that at times it may appear the board is moving quickly on important matters. There have been previous opportunities for discussions on issues in earlier meetings or study sessions or board workshops or independent study. Each director has had sufficient time to ask questions and obtain satisfactory answers from the district, or like I said, through independent research. We strive as directors to understand all of the issues brought before us and make decisions that we believe are in the best interest of all Pasco students and the taxpayers who provide funding to the district. Board study sessions and board meetings are recorded for broadcast on PSC TV Charter Channel 191 and are also broadcast on the school district's YouTube channel. And finally, we're fortunate to have 3 student board reps, 2 of which are seated to my left here. They cannot legally vote on issues, but they're a very important part of our team and board's decision-making process. They participate in many board activities, and this past weekend they went to Spokane with us to the Washington State School Board of Directors Association annual conference. I think we all learned a lot there, and they learned a lot. I think they're excited to take what they learned and implement it, share student voice with us, and implement some of those skills being student leaders. And hopefully, one of the last sessions that we all went to and the students were there was on communications and communicating with your patrons, communicating with your community, and increasing communications through social media and in electronic ways. And I'm thinking that they were pretty excited about that, so they might help us as a district expand our reach on YouTube and Facebook and other social media venues. So with that, we'll have the flag salute. We have Delta High School Principal Jenny Rodriguez here with some students.
President Lehrman, members of the board, and Superintendent Whitney, thank you for inviting us this evening to lead the Pledge of Allegiance. I've brought with me some of our Pasco School District members of our Natural Helpers Club: Anthony Chung, Mark Freeman, Macy Horn, Elizabeth Ortiz Guzman, and Darlene Sart. Natural Helpers are students identified by their peers as being approachable and trustworthy. The program also provides training for these students on accessing resources, knowing when to report a student in need, and stress management. Currently, our Natural Helpers are working alongside our parent group to champion our 2nd annual Winter Wishes campaign. Winter Wishes is a program where students nominate peers that might need a wish fulfilled this winter season. Wishes are for needs, not wants, such as winter clothing, business attire, gas money, groceries, and supplies and technology to support schoolwork. Last year, we fulfilled 50 wishes for 37 students. All wishes are delivered anonymously and privately to receiving students prior to winter break. We are currently working to fulfill this year's wishes, a total of 88 wishes for 60 Delta students. Thank you.
Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So Anthony Chung there, we saw and spent some time with him this past weekend. He was part of the Delta team that was up there competing at WASDA at our state convention. And they all were given a task to come up with an innovative solution to a project. There were 3 high schools there. And his team won an award, so I think we'll be inviting him back in the next couple weeks to celebrate that. Someone from the organization putting on that event is going to come and present an award to that team. So congratulations to them. And thank you for coming, students. Any of you who are not yet seniors, we encourage you in the next year or 2 years, depending on when you're a junior or senior, to apply for a student board representative position and come help give the school board of directors here additional student voice from your school.
They're all sophomores.
All sophomores. All right, all 5 of you, think about it next year, putting in an application.
They did bring some of their family members if they'd like to introduce them really quickly.
Please, yes.
I brought my mom and grandma over there.
Hi.
I brought my mom, my dad, my little brother, and my little sister.
Well, thank you. All right, next we'll have Ms. Smith call the roll.
Present?
Present.
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 Present?
Present.
Present.
Excused. Next, we have a special recognition from Mr. Shane Ettinger.
Good evening, Board President Lehrman, Superintendent Whitney, and members of the board. By proclamation from Governor Jay Inslee, November 14th through the 18th was designated School Psychologist Awareness Week in Washington. We are honored to celebrate and acknowledge the existence and dedication that our school psychologists provide for both the students and staff of Pasco School District. I'd like to share the names of these individuals and the schools where they work tonight. And those of you who have joined us here this evening, please come forward to be recognized. We have Lori Olberding from Angelo Elementary, Leland Graham, who serves Captain Gray Elementary and Chiawana High School, Valerie Herron, who serves Chess Elementary and Frost Elementary, Darren Hansen from Curie Elementary, Joe Joseph from Emerson Elementary, Jean Lemon, who serves Franklin Elementary and Chiawana High School, Don Heineke, who serves Livingston Elementary and New Horizons High School, Alita Fernandez, who serves Longfellow Elementary and Ochoa Middle School, Alex Moss, who serves Markham Elementary and Stevens Middle School, Gloria Matz from McClintock Elementary, Laura Fritz from McGee Elementary, Pedro Gonzalez, who serves Robinson Elementary and Whittier Elementary, Carla Esterhuizen, who serves Twain Elementary, Aaron Ransdell, who serves our pre-K department, Justin Kelly, who serves Ochoa Middle School and Pasco High School, Dwayne Franks from McLaughlin Middle School, Jeanette Brumbaugh from Chiawana High School, and Stella Latham from Pasco High School. Now I'd like to share the proclamation that was made by Governor Inslee. Whereas children and youth learn best when they are healthy, supported, and receive an education that enables them to thrive academically, socially, and emotionally. And whereas schools ensure that students are able to learn when they meet the needs of the whole child and provide integrated multi-tier supports. And whereas children's mental health is directly linked to their learning and development, and the learning environment provides an optimal context to promote good mental health through connectedness within the school and community. And whereas sound psychological principles are integral to instruction and learning, social and emotional development, prevention, early intervention, school safety, and culturally diverse student populations. And whereas school psychology has over 60 years of well-established, widely recognized, and highly effective practice and standards clearly articulated in the National Association of School Psychologists model for comprehensive and integrated school psychological services. And whereas school psychologists are specially trained to foster and deliver a continuum of mental health services and academic supports that lower barriers to teaching and learning. And whereas school psychologists help children thrive by nurturing their individual strengths in personal and academic endeavors. And whereas school psychologists are trained to assess student and school-based barriers to learning, as well as individual strengths, utilize data-based decision-making, implement research-driven prevention and intervention strategies, evaluate outcomes, and improve accountability. Now, therefore, I, Jay Inslee, Governor of the State of Washington, do hereby proclaim November 14th through the 18th of 2016 as School Psychology Awareness Week in Washington, and I encourage everyone in our state to join me in the special observance. Wow, they really know how to write over there. I'd like to ask Assistant Director of Special Services, Christy Jones, to come up now for a special presentation.
I
think we should have him come up front.
Yeah, it's okay.
We'd like Mr. Gonzalez to come up, and we'd like to recognize him with a Pride of Pasco pin. Or we can bring one to you.
We want you to be on TV.
There you go. Let's take a picture. A picture? All right.
Thank you. Pedro, do you want me to take pictures?
That's right. So we would, the school board, school administration, district, and the entire community is thankful for psychologists, but also social workers and everyone who helps us with our whole child, mental health, socio-emotional issues, also counselors, but everyone in the district helps with that, but we especially recognize those specialists at this time. And I think people are doing our team is doing a great job in Pasco of looking at the whole child and the socio-emotional needs of our students. So thank you.
Good evening, Board President Lehrman, Superintendent Whitney, and members of the board. I actually have had the privilege of supervising this team of school psychologists here in the Pasco School District for about the last 7 years. We have grown a lot as a team and together are engaging in ongoing professional development opportunities that allow us to serve the unique and diverse population of our students. And the recognition you have extended to them this evening is well deserved. Each year, the Washington State Association of School Psychologists awards a practitioner in Washington the Best Practices in Assessment Award. Candidates for this award are nominated by their peers from around the state, and this year, one of our own has won this award. This school psychologist was nominated for the award for his implementation of the Patterns of Strengths and Weaknesses approach to identification of a learning disability. By using this approach to assessment, teams are better able to identify if a student is struggling to learn due to a learning or language difference, or if their learning challenges are truly related to a disability. This school psychologist has a passion for the population we serve and a unique connection to the families he works with. Therefore, he has worked to implement this best practice in the schools he supports to ensure appropriate identification of a learning disability and eligibility for special ed services. He is truly concerned about ruling out and addressing the impact of language acquisition, poverty, environment, and other factors that are negatively impacting our students' ability to make satisfactory educational progress. For these reasons and many more, I, as well as several members here, are pleased to present the Washington State Association of School Psychologists Best Practices in Assessment Award to Pedro Gonzalez, school psychologist at Virgie Robinson and Whittier Elementaries.
Deja vu.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Congratulations, Mr. Gonzalez. All right, next we'll have approval of the meeting minutes. I would entertain a motion.
Mr. President, I move to approve the regular meeting minutes of November the 8th, 2016.
Second it.
There's a motion and a second to approve the regular meeting minutes from November 8th, 2016. Those in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. Motion carries to approve the regular meeting minutes from November 8th, 2016. Next, we have the agenda review.
Just would like to call the board's attention to the request for an executive session under 4231.10(1)I and 1C. It will be to discuss real estate. We're expecting it to last probably about 20 minutes.
Thank you, Ms. Whitney. Next, we have audience comments. In just a moment, I'll invite audience members up for comments. All comments and any questions will be noted. The board will respond as appropriate. If you'd like further response, please ensure that your contact information, your name, and email address are left in the back left-hand corner so that we can get a hold of you to follow up. I will also solicit comments, audience comments after each report or action item topic. If your comments are with regard to a report or action item topic, please wait until that time to make your comments. You'll have 2 minutes to address the board. After 1 minute and 30 seconds, a yellow folder will be held up. After 2 minutes, the red folder will be held up. The microphone is open for audience comments. Seeing that we have no audience comments, we'll move on to board communications. We'll start with Dr. Richardson.
Thank you. I just wanted to thank our teachers and coaches and administrators this week, as it's Thanksgiving, for all they do for our students and students in our community. One of the great things about living in our community is we have wonderful people committed to education, and that makes a big difference. Just wanted to share one thought from our conference. Most of the board was at the WASDA conference, put on by the state to provide development for school board members across our state. One of the keynote speakers, his name was Jeff Utecht, and he talked about use of technology and social media in districts, and was quite inspiring. One of the things that he said that inspired me to change my perspective was we need to overcome our fears as adults and get out of the way of student learning and progress in this area. Speaking about their engagement in social media and through various technology and their learning and education. And that struck me because I'm obviously guilty of that. And so he had some great ideas that I'd love to see us implement across our district, where we allow students to really lead in their schools. Perhaps the ASB or leadership class at each school, the 6th graders in elementary school, the 8th graders in middle school, the seniors or leadership class at the high schools, where they would lead a Twitter account or Facebook page for their school, where students would be very free and open to post things. And the schools and districts that have done this, they found that there's actually very little monitoring that needs to occur, because the students self-monitor and self-regulate. The incidence of bullying goes down in these schools, and I think we're on to that track with one of our middle schools that came and presented this "Dude Be Nice" idea, that efforts led by students have much more effect than what we try to instill upon them as adults. And so I think allowing our students that freedom and flexibility to do what they're good at and doing anyways, but in a positive way at each school, would be fantastic in our community. And I'm hoping that we can implement that soon at each of our schools.
Yeah, it was I love these conferences. They're inspiring, and there's so much to learn at them, and it's fun to get perspectives around the state of what educators have done and school board members to really increase community, to increase trust, and to increase our kids' student achievement rates, and that's, I think, what we're all here for. It was fun going to student-teacher conferences, because some of my kids have 2 teachers in the elementary school level. I have 3 kids there, and went to 6 different teachers in the process, and some paraeducators that help out with my kids. And that was, as I walked out of there and was so appreciative for the work that they did with my kids, I also realized, what incredible teachers we have, across our district. I just appreciate all the hard work they do. I know teacher conferences are actually a time then that they work even extra hard getting all of that paperwork done for all of us parents who so appreciate seeing that and where our kids are and the support that they have. It's fun to go, because by then they know your kids, and to see what kind of supports they have for their unique needs, and it's so promising to me for what we have. One thought I would like to share from that thing was I went to one on career and college readiness, and the importance of making sure our kids
are ready for a career or a technical degree or whatever we give. And one of the first things they said is, it starts at birth. If you're not working with your kids from birth on, then you're going to be behind the ball, because it's so hard. It's almost impossible to get those kids from kindergarten if we're not educating the community from birth on what these kids are going to need to succeed in life. And even with the technology, you know, I never even thought about that these kids that are in elementary school now were born in this iPad age. You know, we have these junior high kids and these high school kids that they weren't born into it. They're going to remember what life was like before, that our little kids in the elementary schools aren't, and the importance of educating our teachers, you know, to get there, because there's these different levels of technologies, this 55 to 65 group, and this 45 to 55 group, and this 35 to 45 group. And I just thought it was very interesting how different each of these groups that have made steps. And then here's our kids, and they're our tomorrow, and they're immersed in this, and we're not there. And it's really important that we get there. So it was really neat.
Before cell phones. I wanted to comment on the Veterans Day program at Livingston. It was fantastic. They do a great job at Livingston on their veterans program, and there were probably at least 30 veterans there, and how appreciative they are of what the students do, and how each one of the students has an understanding of what a veteran is. I think when they go to Livingston, they just do a fantastic job. And the community, there's a lot of community members that come out to that program, and I've been to several of their programs, and they just do a fantastic job. I'm very appreciative of what they do. I also attended the chess tournament that they had at Curry on Saturday, and I think they had 250 students, and I was just amazed. I can remember, I don't know how many years ago, 7 years ago or whatever, when they started the program they were doing it at Robinson and Whittier, and they were starting the kids doing the chess program, and how excited those kids were. And so here were all these kids at 9 o'clock in the morning, and they were all sitting at the tables competing amongst themselves in their own group, getting ready for the tournament. And so then at the kindergarten through third, I walked into that room where these kids were competing, and I could not believe how fast they were going. I was just absolutely amazed that they were just like this. They were making their chess moves, and I thought, wow, those little tiny kids were playing that chess, and they were all having such a great time. So it was a great competition, and I appreciate all of the teachers and the parents and the coaches and everything that did all of that for those kids. Those kids had a great time, and it was a great competition for all of them. So thank you.
I just wanted to say how grateful I am for this experience that I had. I really learned so much from it, and I wanted to say thank you for everybody for that. I don't really know who paid, but thank you. And I learned a lot. One of the sessions that really interested me was it was called How to Reduce the Achievement Gap. And they didn't really have an answer like on how we do it, but they said why, which was it has to do with family background, where you live, like where you're from, and if both parents are in the house. And it gave me it's kind of like a challenge for me to take, so I can figure out a way to break these chains, you know, and help out my school, because I feel like in my school there's a lot of these problems that's going on. So that's kind of a challenge that I'm gonna take on. And I learned a lot of quotes. This lady named Miranda, I forgot her last name, but her name was Miranda, and I'm gonna share one of the quotes she said. Well, some of the quotes she said: "Teamwork makes the dream work. strong schools make strong communities. That's something that really caught my attention. And then she said, die empty, don't die full. And I know it sounds kind of bad, but I'm gonna explain it right now. What she's saying by that is like, leave no dream behind when you die, you know? You gotta just let everything out. Just be yourself, go for what you want, live your dreams, you know? And also I got ideas from other student reps. That was pretty cool. I got to meet a lot of other people that are going through the same situations, and how to get more input from other students. And I also learned how important technology is to our district, and it's something that me, Misty, and Evan are gonna work on. And we're really gonna get our nose to the grind now, as our president said. And I learned what the most dangerous phrase is also. Are you guys ready for this? We've always done it this way. That's something that I've heard. I don't know where I heard it, but I heard it somewhere around here. And it's something that's gonna change, and I hope that I can help with that. And another quote that really influenced me was, there's a price we need to pay for greatness. And I really like this because it refers a lot to me when my friends are like, oh yeah, let's go here, let's go do this. And I gotta go home and I gotta go study or do something else, you know. I gotta come to these meetings and get knowledge, you know. And I say that technology isn't bad also because I started learning from Eric Thomas and Les Brown. I searched them up as like motivation quotes or something like that. And we don't always look for Snoop Dogg videos or stuff like that, you know. And he said something about how if you burn down a building or something, it's just gonna get burned down. But if you have the blueprint for it, you can build it again with time. But if you burn that blueprint, the building is gone and there's no way to do it. So it's same with knowledge also, you know. You can take my watch away from me, you can take my car, but if you take my knowledge and my hard work and my dedication that I have now, I'm nothing. So I just want to thank everybody and have an amazing night.
Well, Jesus just got a really nice watch. Just want to put that out there. But anyway, I want to start off by saying Dr. Richardson, Ms. Phillips, Ms. Lincoln, President Lehrman, Christensen, and Superintendent Whitney, and to everybody else who makes this board possible and helps out. Congratulations, because you won Board of the Year. So I thought that was pretty nice. It was amazing. I mean, we even got to go up there and take a picture. But I felt like you guys do most of the heavy lifting. We're just the voice. But I also learned that at the conference that our voice is very valuable. So yeah, throughout the whole conference, we were there for like 3-ish days. And your voice and inspiration are two things that really pass down through generations or to everyone. And so one of my favorite speakers was Sarah Kay. She was a spoken word poet. And I know poets, but I mean, I never knew that spoken poetry was even an art. I mean, it was her poems were really great. They were really inspirational, and they motivated me to like want to speak even more or express my own feelings, because I related to her a lot, because she was the shy girl who hated to speak in front of people, and I kind of relate to that. I love talking to people one-on-one, but just presenting is not one of my pet peeves. So anyway, yeah, and with Miranda, we can't remember her last name for some reason. But anyway, she was also very encouraging and telling us how important our voice is, and more now than ever. And through her, I also learned that not every school district has student representatives. So I think we're really lucky and fortunate to be here. And so I really hope that, you know, these experiences give me more knowledge, and I think that's really useful in life. And I also got to meet other student reps, and it was nice to hear from them how different school district work, because not every school is the same, not every district's the same. And I was going to congratulate Anthony, but he left. I think he did a really great job, I mean, his whole group and the two other schools as well. I mean, I think it's amazing how quickly and how like well done their presentations were. I mean, I feel like I wouldn't be able to do that. So I feel like they're really smart and they're going to be really successful. And so as sophomores, I thought they were seniors. I mean, wow. And then as well as Jesus says, technology, I knew technology was important, but I never knew how. Again, you learn that not every school district's the same. So there's other school districts out there that use technology in ways that we might be afraid to use. But I mean, we just have to, take risk and don't let fear take over. And that's one of the things that Miranda said, because it's our voice and it's our generation, and we can try to reach generations that came before us, and that's great. But also we need the biggest impact we have to make is within our generation, because we are the future and these are the kids that are going to grow up. And so it starts somewhere, but it has to start, and I think we have to start. So, thanks.
Like most of my fellow board members, I too went to the conference, the WASDA conference, annual conference, and learned lots of things there. The sessions I attended dealt primarily with legislature, and then I went to one on public lands. And the legislature this year is going to be a challenging year. The balance in the legislature stays about the same in both the House and the Senate. But unfortunately, we've lost several key people that were quite involved in the education funding part of it. They've gone on to different jobs, and well, I shouldn't say that. One did, two of them didn't get elected, and then one passed away. So there's a little uncertainty there in how that's all going to turn out. And I attended a session on public lands, primarily because I'm interested in the up there at Road 68, where the Department of Natural Resources owns the land. And when Department of Natural Resources own the lands, we don't get much benefit from it. It goes into a statewide trust, and those funds are distributed statewide. And unfortunately, they own a chunk of land right in the heart of our commercial development. The good news is they did sell some of it, but it wasn't commercial. It's all residential. So that we'll have some money come into our tax rolls, but we'll also have a lot of homes go in that will affect our enrollment that we're already struggling with. So it's been interesting learning about that. Hopefully we can make some influence them there. I have a recommendation that they keep these lands and lease them out, and they use the revenue from these leases to fund public schools. This is, I believe it's primarily the capital side. But my suggestion is that they go to Seattle or somewhere in King County where property values are really high, where people will rent, and where their assessed value is already high, so that and free this up here. They can charge exorbitant rents over there and make good money, and we can get the benefit of having this land in our assessed value for our benefit. So anyway, it was a good session, and also went to the chess tournament, saw some of the students that are my neighbors. One who's in my scout troop actually competed in that tournament. It was fun to go and see these. It reminded me of when my kids were young and we used to go to these wrestling tournaments. The difference being that at least in a wrestling tournament, you get to see your kid compete. In these chess tournaments, I don't know what motivates these parents to sit there all day, because they can't see their students playing chess. It's a different environment, but I did get to sneak in and watch some of these kids, and these were the young kids, and I think there's kids I can actually beat in chess if I went and played them. But,
I wouldn't count on it.
well, probably not, but don't tell me that. Let me think that anyway. So, thank you.
So Thanksgiving, I want to just say, when I think of what I'm thankful for, number one, I'd say my loving and supportive wife and my kids. But just one notch below that, I'm thankful for all the teachers in this district. I'm thankful for all the support staff, the administration, every district employee that teaches and supports the teachers, giving our kids an education. It takes a community, it takes a village, we know that. So thank you to everybody for that. Also thankful to the community, our stakeholders, just for the opportunity to serve. And I think my fellow board members would say the same thing. And I've heard it said several times, over the last few years that I've served on the board, and like, wow, people trust you with their two most valuable resources, their money and their kids. And it really is a great honor. So thank you for that opportunity to serve. At WASDA, I went to 5 or 6 really good sessions. Other school boards present, other districts, administrative teams present, and I think it's a great opportunity. Imitation is a high form of flattery to grab some of the stuff that other districts are doing, use their best practices, and implement it over here. And a few of the things I went to. Board superintendent governance, effective governance, the relationship between the board and superintendent. We have a great relationship with Miss Whitney, but everything can always improve, so got some good ideas with communication there. One school district had a board calendar that I think we can implement as a board, and it shows the district everything that we're working on, every program that we're working on. So I think there's a lot of work that we do that it's hard for the community to know. So they might come up to us and say, when are you going to talk about math? When are you going to talk about SPED? When are you going to talk about this? And if we have a board calendar where it's all in one spot with links to the most current discussions and reports that we have, that's just another form of communication between us and the community. Those kind of things we can borrow from other districts. Pre-K funding. I saw an interesting thing. Other districts are going through the same type of stuff we are. Central Valley bought a Yolks grocery store and converted it into a pre-K center, much like we're doing with the Pasco Senior Center. So it's good to see stuff like that, see challenges they have. You're buying a building that might not have a lot of windows. What did you do for that? Oh, we put skylights in. A lot of the same types of creative solutions that our district's working on. It's nice to see it reinforced in projects that are already done or a little farther along than projects that we have. And I'd echo what Dr. Richardson said on the communication, just finding ways that we can improve our social media presence and let the kids help lead the way in that. They know a lot more than some of us do. It was said that some of us over 35 so technology, we're like technological immigrants. We're put in this world. We weren't born into it, but most of the most people that are, a lot of people that are younger than 35 can't remember a time when they didn't have internet, and so they're natives and might know a little bit more about some of these things than we do. So let them teach us and lead the way there. And then last, I won't say too much about it. Misty alluded to it. Congratulations to the board. We'll have a recognition at the next board meeting, but we did get Board of Distinction with 24 other schools in the state of Washington, and at the conference we were awarded School Board of the Year for school districts over 9,000 students, and that was a big award. They looked at what are you doing, research-based governance practices which lead to high levels of student achievement, and close the achievement gap. And I think it's a lot of the work that we've been doing this past year. I think the board, with Ms. Whitney for helping us implement it. Thank everybody, all employees, for being open-minded, but looking at 5 student goals, looking at how we're operating this district, and thank you to everybody for having an open mind as we work through this. Have a happy Thanksgiving.
So I would just like to invite the public and remind the board of some upcoming events. November 28th through December 3rd is Enterprise Week. It will be at the track. That's a phenomenal event where our seniors participate in a business simulation. I'd also like to highlight a bus tour. It would be the Thursday. It's December 2nd at Delta High School from 8 to noon, and we'll also be going to the track during that superintendent bus tour. So it starts at 8, goes through about noon. If you're interested in participating, please email me directly at mwhitney@psd1.org and be happy to get you hooked up with a tour. While some of the board members talked about participating in a chess tournament here last weekend, there's another chess tournament coming up on December 10th at my Angelo Elementary. So for those of us who couldn't make the chess tournament last weekend because of WASDA, we have another opportunity to attend on December 2nd. I also wanted to acknowledge I had what was a truly inspirational and phenomenal meeting last night with Miguel Sedania, Amanda Ramirez, Jennifer Collins, Greg Olson, and I'm gonna mispronounce his last name, Ben Ibel? Ibali. See, I knew that. Ben is from WEA, and the focus of the conversation was really around some modules of professional development that WEA has developed around cultural responsiveness. And this is a question that we as a district ask frequently in how to best provide professional development opportunities to our community. And I think the answer that WEA has given us to that question is the best I've seen. So as a group, we've begun an initial conversation about what that focus might mean for us in the short term, but also in the long term, and really looking beyond what would traditionally be a trainer comes in, offers a 3-hour session, and then leaves. Looking beyond that and looking at a systemic, more wide range, ongoing set of initiatives around cultural diversity or cultural responsiveness and equity. So I just want to acknowledge and thank you for your time in doing that. And a number of those participants are in the audience tonight. And just let the board know to be prepared for us to be bringing some recommendations back to what that might look like. I'm just really inspired. I was super inspired by the meeting and just felt like it truly embodied that concept of yes and what could be. And it was kind of the opposite of, this is the way we've always done it. So it was absolutely thinking outside that box and looking at how we approach this differently. So I'm super excited about that. I also just wanted to express a statement of thanks. Thanksgiving is one of my favorite holidays. It's a holiday that my husband and I, we kind of hold that one aside for us. And so it's often a time of reflection. And I think about from Thanksgiving to Thanksgiving. So last year, I was navigating some fairly significant health issues. So you just think about how far we've come, myself personally and professionally and as an organization in a year. And I'm just so grateful for my health, my family, and the opportunity to wake up every day and serve this organization and community as superintendent. So I have lots to be grateful for, the hard work in the classrooms that happen every day and the support for our kids and community. So know that each and every one of you are on my list of thanks on Thursday morning. So with that, I hope you all enjoy the holiday.
All right, next we have agenda item number 9, reports and discussion.
I'd like to introduce to you Ms. Christy Dawkin, who's here this evening to talk to us about our pre-K action plan. So she'll be providing the action that is occurring as a result of the early learning forum that we had earlier this fall. I was particularly impressed with Christy's passion around this particular initiative and very excited about the board learning about the upcoming initiatives.
Thank you. He was laughing at me because I fit into that over 35 group. So. Okay. Well, good evening, Board President Lehrman, Superintendent Whitney, and members of the board. I'm here tonight to give you an update on work in the area of preschool. In the strategic plan approved by the board on June 23, 2015, a key action in Goal 3 is to develop and implement a pre-kindergarten program for all incoming students by 2017. On September 13th, the school board approved the 5 outrageous outcomes that were collaboratively developed between the school board and district staff. One of those outcomes is for all of our 3rd grade students to read on grade level in their language of instruction. In order for us to reach this outcome, our students must be provided a strong foundation starting at birth. Tonight, I'll provide you with an update on some of the efforts we have been working on to establish that strong foundation. On September 28th and 29th, we held an English and Spanish Early Learning Community Forum with 85 parents, community members, and staff who provided input into the early learning work for Pasco. On the screen are the top 4 ideas elicited from those who participated in the forum. I will be providing you with an update on some of the key actions in response to the input received. We know that children's first learning experiences begin at home and with child care providers. Those experiences provide the foundation for success in school. We are in the process of establishing a partnership with Partners for Early Learning. Partners for Early Learning, also known as PFEL, is a group of professionals from early learning, public health, and the business sectors who are committed to ensuring that all children come to school with the skills and resources needed to succeed. Through this partnership, free monthly professional development will be offered in English and Spanish for caregivers and teachers to ensure that all children are ready for school. Kaleidoscope Play and Learn groups help families and caregivers prepare young children for success in school and life. This program, designated as a promising practice by the University of Washington's Evidence-Based Practice Institute, reaches families in their neighborhoods and in their home languages at weekly facilitated playgroups. During weekly group sessions, participants learn about activities they can do at home to support children's learning and development from birth to age 5 by turning everyday activities into learning opportunities. Additionally, they will learn what community programs and services are available to help them raise healthy children. Through a partnership with ESD 123, we will be starting Play and Learn groups at Lakeview and Terra Vita. Additionally, we will have 2 facilitators trained in February to enable us to offer additional groups at other locations in Pasco in the future. On Thursday, January 12th, we'll be hosting an early learning fair at Mark Twain Elementary. Parents and caregivers from Pasco will be invited to bring their preschool children to engage in play activities that will support development and readiness for kindergarten. Various community agencies involved with early learning will also be sharing resources for parents. A few examples of resources that will be shared are Love Talk Play and Birth to 5. Love Talk Play emphasizes the importance of spending time talking and playing with your child starting at birth to develop relationships, language, and cognitive skills. The Birth to 5 campaign through United Way emphasizes 7 things parents and caregivers can do to help children be ready. I have had the opportunity to work with preschool and some ECAP staff to collect input around the needs for the new Early Learning Center to help create the education specifications that are being brought to you this evening. We will continue to work with the capital projects team as we move forward with this exciting project. Currently, I'm in the midst of seeking community suggestions for a new name for the senior center. Community members have been submitting names at the established website. Persons interested in participating on the naming committee have submitted applications. During December, the committee will be working through a similar process to what was used to name Franklin, Curie, and McClintock in order to make some recommendations that we will bring to you following winter break. So for our next steps, to help move our work forward, we'll be recruiting staff to facilitate the monthly child care provider trainings that we will be offering, recruiting and training facilitators to lead play and learn groups in the community. And on December 7th, we will be meeting with the Mid-Columbia Reading Foundation to explore options for offering ready classes for parents in Pasco. And finally, we'll be publicizing the various opportunities throughout the community. Thank you for the opportunity to help establish early learning opportunities in Pasco. Our community has demonstrated enthusiasm toward this exciting work that I'm confident will enable us to reach our outrageous outcomes. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Stockin. I'm looking forward to hearing how the meeting goes on December 7th. I think that's something we should, I would definitely support as a district. We don't have to reinvent the wheel. It's been done and studied and is effective, and I'm hoping that that's something we could implement by next year. So I'm really looking forward to hearing how that goes. Just going to throw this out there for the naming committee. A lot of the early learning pioneers were kind of crazy, and so we may not be able to. It may be hard to find a suitable name. Pasco Early Learning Center is fine with me. That's a lot of the early learning centers across the state. Franklin Pierce Early Learning Center, Central Valley Early Learning Center. That works for me. Just throwing it out there. But if we come, you know,
Submit your name.
yeah, well, I'm looking forward to hearing the recommendations. But anyway, thank you.
So are these different things that we're going to adopt, Kaleidoscope, Play and Learn, and the Early Learning Fair? Or is the Early Learning Fair just, are they, just trying to put it into with Ready for Kindergarten? Are they 3 different programs? We're going to implement them all. They're going to work together. Can you explain that a little bit more?
Well, you're Ready is more of an ongoing, I'm going to call it professional development for parents, for strategies and things to implement with their children at home. The Early Learning Fair would be more of a one-time kind of a shot. These are some resources that are out there. These are some ways that you can learn just the interactions, your daily interactions with your kids, and how through play you can help encourage their development. The Kaleidoscope would be those weekly opportunities with that facilitator to be able to focus on how we can support child development through that regular play that we often do, but by giving them language and such to help develop those, cognitive as well as language and those social emotional skills that we would want kids to enter kindergarten knowing. And so that's more of an ongoing, it's a weekly opportunity. And then we want to look at some of those wraparound kind of services that would kind of accompany that. And as we're interacting on a regular weekly basis with those families, how can we identify maybe there's other needs that we can also be supporting with the families?
So that's a play group for community,
Like
parents?
yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay.
How many facilitators are you training in February?
We're looking at 2 to start with. There's a grant through University of Washington that funds the cost of the training. So we'll start with 2, and then we can always add as we decide to add more groups or it grows and so forth.
So how do you invite people? Is it an open house invitation any week, anybody can come, or is it a program for a limited number of students?
It is, so Catholic Family Services has a couple groups already going, and it's for anybody to bring their children to. As those groups are getting fuller, there's that need to add additional groups, and those can be done wherever, we would choose to do so in the community. So currently, there's 2 different ones offered at, and I can't pronounce the name of it, but the apartments right by Rowena Chess. They do one in their community center. Similarly, when we add at Terra Vida and Lakeview, it'll be housed in there. So it's close to home for families.
And then there's no limit. The parents are required to stay. They can't
Yes,
just drop off the kids.
parents are
It's a
part
play
of
group.
it, and they learn through that play, and then they also receive some resources. There's like a little lesson or such, and then they receive resources in their native language that
Awesome.
take some takeaways for them.
So training in February and stand up their group in what month? When's the first play group start?
So in that partnership with the ESD, we're hoping to get that, if we do the training in February through a grant that they have, we will be able to get materials and such to get Terra Vida and Lakeview up and running. And so hopefully that would happen soon thereafter. So, and hopefully like March,
Exciting
optimistically
stuff.
thinking, so.
So this is part of the board's been talking about it for a while in the district, but kind of the multi-pronged, multifaceted approach to early learning. It's not one size fits all, and Ms. Dawkins outlined several possibilities here for us, and appreciate the work.
One more quick question that I forgot. How are we going to, like the Early Learning Fair, it's a great thing, and it's for birth to 5, but a lot of these birth to 5 aren't in our school district yet. So how are we planning on getting the word out to these young parents of this Early Learning Fair?
So it will take a variety of resources and communities. So through Child Care Aware, they have connections with the child care providers in the area. So they will communicate, those child care providers can then share the information. We'll have to advertise heavily, either through our schools. I mean, a variety of forms in order for it to get out there. So on our Facebook little
I was
app
just thinking,
thing.
the under 35 groups
Yeah.
are like Twitter. The over 35
Yeah.
groups were Facebook.
Yeah.
I just thought that was interesting. So
Yeah.
those might be a couple ways too. So Instagram, I think that was another under 35.
Yeah, don't ask me how to do it.
What we learned.
Exciting work. Thank you, Ms. Dock.
Thank you.
So I'd invite the community after Ms. Dawkins sits down, address the mic if you have any questions or comments on this early learning topic here. You can address the board at this time.
Dr. Richardson's on call, so he's stepping in and out for various reasons.
Seeing that we have no audience comments on our early learning topic there, we'll move on to the next report.
I'd like to introduce to you Ms. Suzanne Hall. She's our Executive Director of Curriculum and Professional Development. She's here to provide an update on our curriculum review process.
I'm way over 35, so I'll take all the help I can. Okay. Well, good evening, Board President Lehrman, Superintendent Whitney, and members of the board. And it's always a pleasure to come up and share with you an update for the ongoing work of our curriculum review committees. And as I mentioned last month, our committees have been hard at work since October 13th. And at the first meeting, we established the purpose of the committee's work, timelines, deadlines, and the communication protocols that they would be using to provide updates to the community as well as all staff members. As you can see, the review process consists of 3 basic phases. The first phase is conducting a needs assessment and recommending a scope and sequence. Phase 2 is screening materials, and finally, phase 3 is determining and presenting a final recommendation to the Instructional Materials Committee. As you can, what we are doing now is we have completed the first phase on time, and this slide, as well as the following, will share with you what each of the committees has decided to move forward for further review. With the exception of a few content areas, most committees are continuing to look at all components of their content area. So you can see music, science, technology, physical education, what social studies will be focusing on in terms of individual components, world language, visual arts, and leadership. So entering into phase 2 and into our next deadline, which is December 15th, the committees will begin to pre-screen and narrowing the 100 of material options out there down to top 3. They have spent time in developing a pre-screening tool. During this process, it took into consideration our system-wide expectations, values, research-based best practices that are critically important in selecting materials. Once these materials are selected, we will put a plan together on how the materials will be ordered and disseminated to each of the buildings for collegial review, as well as an opportunity for the parent and public input on the materials that we are suggesting. Our curriculum committees are full of dedicated teachers. They are meeting weekly, 3 hours at a time, and the district level staff that's dedicated to facilitating this work. I have such gratitude for their commitment and the depth of the professional dialogue they are having on behalf of our Pasco students and undertaking this in a very professional manner. So, any questions on where we are so far in the process?
On your second to last slide there on the next steps, is there any major difference in that schedule compared to what we did last year? Has it has it moved up a little bit, or are the dates about the same as what we did with last year's set of curriculum?
Yes, these are the same dates that are outlined in the contract. And we are working very closely with the association to support the teams in any way that they are requesting help. Questions?
Well, we appreciate their dedication and the long hours that they put in. We know how hard it is, and just let them know how much we appreciate all that they're doing.
Well, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hall. Does anybody from the audience have any questions or comments from the board on the curriculum update? Seeing that we have no comment from the audience, we'll move on to agenda item number 10, which is action items.
I'd like to welcome Howard Roberts to the podium, who will walk us through an action item around appointment of a pro-con committee for our voters guide for the upcoming bond election in February.
Thank you, Board President Lehrman, Superintendent Whitney, members of the board. This item is part of the process the district needs to follow for the 2017 bond election. Following the state of Washington law, the Franklin County Elections Department requires jurisdictions placing measures on the ballot to appoint members to pro and con committees who are willing to write statements for the county's voter guide. This would be an online version of it in February. An invitation to submit applications was posted in the Tri-City Herald on 2 consecutive weeks and on the district's website. This time you'll see we have the following responses for both the pro and the con committee. And with that, I would invite your consideration of appointing these applicants using the suggested motion in your packet.
Do we have any questions for Mr. Roberts?
So did we solicit people to serve on these committees and they actually applied? Is that
Yes,
how
it
this
was just a
works?
general invitation if you'd like to serve on either pro or con committee. Yes.
I would entertain a motion.
For the purpose of writing statements for Franklin County's online voters guide, I move to appoint Emily Maloney, Jamie Southworth, and Michelle Simon to the committee advocating approval, and Roger Link, Pamela Follansby, and Maria Smith to the committee advocating rejection of the district's February 14, 2017 bond ballot measure.
I'll second the motion.
There's a motion and a second for the purpose of writing statements for Franklin County's online voters guide to appoint Emily Maloney, Jamie Southworth, and Michelle Simon to the committee advocating approval, and Roger Link, Pamela Follansby, and Maria Smith to the committee advocating rejection of the district's February 14th, 2017 bond ballot measure. Is there additional board discussion? Ms. Smith, please call the roll.
Mr. Christensen?
Yes.
Mrs. Blanken? Yes. Mr. Lehrman?
Yes.
Mrs. Phillips?
Yes.
Excused. All right, thank you, Mr. Roberts. Does anyone from the audience have any questions or comments on this action item? All right, we'll move on to action item 10B.
I would like to invite Randy Nenemaker to the podium, who will be requesting a process for approval of acceptance of portable projects.
Board President, Mr. Lehrman, Superintendent Whitney, and board members. Tonight, the district brings forward Resolution 933, acceptance of the Portables 2016 project, which is official acceptance of the project. To ease overcrowding at the elementary schools, the district placed 4 double portables or 8 classrooms into service in 2016-17. 3 double portables were placed at Franklin STEM Elementary School, and 1 double portable was placed at Livingston Elementary School. Pasco School District staff and CKJT architects are recommending the acceptance of the project as final and complete. Acceptance by the board begins the final process to release retainage in the amount of $11,951.29, which includes state and local sales tax. This time, the district asked for approval of Resolution 933.
Questions or comments from the board?
Mr. President, I move to approve resolution number 933, accepting Portables 2016 project as final and complete.
Second?
There's a motion and a second to approve resolution number 933, accepting the Portables 2016 project as final and complete. Additional board discussion? Ms. Smith, please call the roll.
Mr. Christensen?
Yes.
Dr. Richardson?
Yes.
Ms. Lankin?
Yes.
Mr. Lerman?
Yes.
Ms. Phillips?
Yes.
All right, thank you, Mr. Nunemaker. Do we have any questions or comments from the audience on the 2016 portable project acceptance? All right, we'll move on to agenda item 11, which is a consent agenda. We have personnel, warrant approval, approval of value engineering recommendations for elementary school number 16, approval of Pasco High School Phase 3 project change order number 4, approval of the senior center alterations, educational specifications, and out-of-state overnight student travel for the Chiawana High School Speech and Debate Club to the Kalispell Invitational Speech and Debate Competition in Kalispell, Montana. I would entertain a motion.
Mr. President, I move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second it.
There's a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda as presented. Additional board discussion? Ms. Smith, please call the roll.
Mrs. Phillips? Yes. Mr. Lerman?
Yes.
Ms. Lankin?
Yes.
Dr. Richardson?
Yes.
Mr. Christensen?
Yes.
Agenda item 12, we have future agenda items.
So at this point in the agenda setting process, we have not identified a study session for December 13th's meeting. So if that changes, we will let you know. During the board meeting proper, however, we'll be focusing on data, both SBAC and graduation results. Eric Bowles is preparing that presentation for us, as well as our student board representatives will be presenting to us a recommendation or that they have regarding an initiative we would like to co-plan and move forward as a result of their participation in the WASDA conference. So we'll be looking forward to that. We are requesting an executive session this evening under 4231.10(1) B and C. We're expecting it to take approximately 20 minutes, and we will not be requesting action.
All right, thank you for joining us this evening. Have a happy Thanksgiving, and we will recess into executive session.